If every single time you gave me $1, I gave you $5 back, how much money would you give me? Your answer should have been all of your money. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly how you can create a money printer that every single time you put forward $1, you get $5 back using paid advertising as an online sports coach. If this is your first time here, my name is Nick. I run an online consulting company helping sports coaches achieve time and financial freedom by coaching athletes online so that way they can reach more athletes, they can make more money, and create a life of way more freedom for themselves. If you're a returning subscriber, I got an absolute banger for you guys. I'm gonna walk through step by step how you can run profitable paid advertising so that way you can put $1 into the machine and get $5 plus every single time. Now, before we dive in, I want to set some clear expectations and needs before you start running paid advertising, okay? So the first thing that we need is we need a validated offer, okay? Now, this isn't necessarily a requirement. You can start running ads right off the rip without a validated offer, but ideally you want to be making a couple sales per month or at least have confidence in your ability to sell, right? Because if you start running paid ads and you don't know how to sell, you don't know if people are going to buy it, you're gambling in even more than you need to. You don't want to have to gamble a ton with paid advertising because gambling is the advertising, right? Or advertising is gambling. So if we're gambling with an offer that we don't even know if people are going to buy yet, we're just increasing the risk that we're taking on, okay? So that's the first thing that we're gonna need, okay? The second thing that we're gonna need is at least a $1,500 ad budget, okay? The reason why I say $1,500 is because you should be able to get about 3 clients at least with $1,500 to spend using this system that I'm gonna walk you through, okay? And you need to be emotionally detached to this amount of money, okay? You need to be able to light $1,500 on fire emotionally and never see it again, okay? The probability that you turn $1,500 into $5 back is fairly high if you already have a validated offer and if you have this third thing as well, but you need to be emotionally detached from this $1,500, okay? If you can't afford to spend $1,500 without like freaking out if you never see it again, it's gonna be really difficult for you to have profitable paid advertising because you're gonna make such emotional decisions. You're gonna live in the day-to-day rather than being able to zoom out and think a little bit longer term, okay? Third thing is you're gonna need to be charging at least $1,500, okay? Ideally, you're charging $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 plus for your offer. The reason why is because your cost to acquire a customer, if that's brand new to you, it's basically just how much money does it cost to in advertising spend? Does it get somebody to does it cost to get somebody to join your program, right? If we're spending $1,500 on ads, and let's say we have a $3,000 program, and it's a $5,000 or a $500 cost to acquire a customer, then we'll sign up 3 customers at $3,000. That's $9,000. That's $1,500 into $9,000. That's a 6x return. Good. $1, $6 back. Okay? So we want to charge at least $1,500, ideally $2,500, $3,000 plus. Okay? So once we have these things in place, right? Once we have a validated offer, we have $1,500 that we can light on fire, and we have a $1,500 offer, then we can start running some ads. Now, we want to understand, or we want to go in with the mind frame that paid advertising is gambling, okay? So there is a probability that that $1,500 that you risk never comes back to you, okay? You need to understand that. Now, our target, if you guys watch any of my content, you know I talk a ton about making sure that before we do anything, we have a goal. We have a destination that we're trying to achieve in mind, okay? Is at least a 5x return on ad spend, or I'm going to call it ROAS, okay? ROAS is just return on ad spend, okay? For those of you guys that are a little bit slower. So we want at least a 5x return on ad spend. That means if I put $1 in, I get at least $5 back, okay? So in this example, we spend $1,500. We get $7,500 back within the first 30 days, ideally, right? Or obviously, if you're collecting a lot of payment plans, that's not a huge deal. It's just gonna limit the amount that you can scale, and I'll walk you through why. But ideally, in a perfect world, we have closer to a 10x return on that little spend, okay? If we're only spending $1,500 a month, we wanna be able to collect back like 15K, okay? The reason why is because as the ad spend goes up, ads really look like this over the long term, right? So eventually, we're gonna get diminishing returns. So maybe our ad spend continues to go up, but our profitability is going to compress as we spend more money, right? So if we're spending $1,500 a month and then we go to $1,500 a day, the return is going to compress. So we want to start at 10x so that way at a larger level of scale, we can have a 5x and the business is still super profitable when we have a bunch of team members and things like that, okay? And obviously, for most of you guys watching this, you're probably not super interested, or maybe you don't even see yourself making $100,000 a month. Maybe you do, right? But it might be a little bit difficult for you to conceptualize. Maybe you just want to make a little bit more money. Maybe you just want to make, you know, $10, $15, $20,000 a month take home and travel the world and train athletes online. That's super cool too. This video is for you, right? We want the thickest return on ad spend that we could possibly get at the beginning, which is why the pricing is so important. Now, in terms of the actual strategy that we're going to use, what we want to do is we want to run what's called DM ads, right? And I have a lot of content on this channel that talks about how to actually build trust with your athletes and you know, the sales process and stuff like that. We're just going to be talking about how we can actually generate leads with the advertising in this video. Anything else besides that is kind of beyond the scope. You can watch all my other content on this channel. But we want to run DM ads, okay? And these DM ads, we're going to have 3 to 5 variations, okay? And these need to be super specific, okay? I'll give you an example of something that's broad, and I'll give you an example of something that's specific, so that way you can differentiate and determine if you're being specific enough in your ads, okay? So for example, if you say, let's say you're targeting high school soccer players. If you're a high school soccer player and you want to play in college, then DM me the word blank and I'll have a conversation with you to see if I can help you inside my coaching program. Too broad. Way too broad. You're going to get everybody clicking on that. You're not going to get, like, you might have a really cheap cost per message, right? It might be really cheap to get people to message you, but you're going to be filtering through so many people who aren't that serious, who you really can't help, who don't have any money, who are, you know, they're just not, like, they're not who you want to target, right? When you run paid advertising, you want to be as specific as you possibly can, so that way it disqualifies everybody who's not the avatar or the ideal athlete and is speaking only to that one type of athlete, speaking to the highest level athlete that you possibly want to go after. And I was having a conversation with one of my clients who was having difficulty getting their advertising profitable, right? And so we start looking at the ads, and his ads are just too broad. And I'm like, dude, what are your best clients saying? And he's like, oh, well, he's helping center mids in soccer become D1 soccer players, right? He was a D1 center mid. He was a D1 captain. It makes sense for him to help high school center mids who want to play D1 soccer, right? Yeah, makes a ton of sense. Now he's saying things like, hey, if you're MLS Next or ECNL and you want to play in college, I was the same way, but it was super broad, right? So then we started having a conversation and I'm like, bro, why don't you only say exactly what your ideal clients are already saying? And then he was like, I never thought about that. I'm like, well, what are they saying? Like, what do they say on coaching calls? Or like, why did they say that they bought your program? He's like, well, they're lacking confidence. They're always playing the ball backwards. They don't know how to go on the attack. They're already hardworking. They're already training multiple times a week. They're playing on a really good club. They might even already be committed. I was like, bro, well, why don't we just make an ad targeting that person? And he's like, well, we get into the conversation, comes down to his fear-based. He was really scared to get super specific. I'm like, bro, you got to cut that out. You got to get super specific because he was getting a bunch of really, really, really unqualified leads, like literally middle schoolers coming inbound. I'm like, dude, you need to be as specific as you possibly can in these ads. So what do? We're like, hey, if you're a high school or if you're a sophomore center mid playing MLS Next or ECNL, I have something for you. You're probably training multiple times a week. You're going to ID camps and showcases. Your parents are already investing in your career. You're already training a ton. And maybe your teammates are even getting D1 offers. But the problem is you don't have the confidence to really stand out in matches. See how specific that line of messaging is, right? It's completely different. It's completely different. And that is going to target his ideal client because here's the thing. Meta has alien level technology that is going to place your perfect piece of content for that one person. It's going to match them together at the perfect time. Meta has 52,000 data points per user. And what that means in normal person speak is that it knows more about you than you know about yourself. So that is why maybe sometimes you might be having a conversation, you might be thinking about something. Maybe you were like, I wonder what online coaching would look like for my specific situation. Boom, you get served an ad of mine, now you're here on my YouTube video, right? That's how good Meta is, okay? And so we start scripting out these ads. They're way more specific. Now he's getting way more qualified leads. Now his ads are gonna be profitable, okay? The reason why is because he's getting very, very, very specific. So the structure for these ads after that entire rant, okay? And I'm gonna go super in depth on this video. Some of my scale clients inside my scale program where like I have like a mentorship program where I do one-on-one coaching with them. And like my highest level clients, I'll do one-on-ones. I'll, help them set up their ad campaigns. I'll help them, train their team members, different things like that. If you wanna check out how my mentorship program works, you can check out the link in the description. But like some of my highest level clients are probably gonna watch this video and be like, dang, you need to talk about this more in our program. So essentially the script of these ads is we wanna have a hook and ideally we wanna call out our ideal client in the hook, right? So like let's say the ad looks like this on Reels. Right up here in the text hook. At the top of the video, right? So like let's say this is you. Right here, we're trying to call them out in the text hook. So that way, and we're trying to be as specific as we possibly can. And in the first 3 to 5 seconds, we need to have called out our ideal client, okay? Then we're gonna talk about their specific problems and circumstances. And their desires, okay? So this is typically going to be the body of the ad, right? So high school baseball players who want to play in college, too broad, okay? If I'm going to say, If you want to hit the ball with more power so you can get D1 offers, listen up, right? I could even be more, and I would even in the text hook say high school baseball players only. Be like, you're probably rolling over the ball with your pull side and you're not moving up in the lineup or getting the college looks that you want. And really, you know you need to be hitting the ball for way more power, right? So I'm going through the problems, circumstances, and desires, right? And then I'm going to present them with a solution and bridge to my offer, right? So I'm going to say solution. What you need is you need a custom plan with somebody who's been there and done exactly what you want to do to help you get to that next level. Solution, right? And that's exactly why I created my one-on-one coaching program where I will help you XYZ 1, 2, 3 in Y duration. So if you want to learn more, DM me, right? So I'm doing the solution, then I'm making the offer, and I'm making the call to action. So you can follow this exact framework, okay? And we want to make 3 to 5 variations of this framework, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense and you have a bunch of questions, just go ahead, DM me on Instagram or just join one of my programs. I'll be able to help you directly. So now that we have that out of the way, we want that $1,500 budget to be split evenly amongst these 3 ads, because essentially what we're doing is we're testing. Now we want to have 3 different variations of the same ad, essentially with a little bit different like messaging, essentially. So maybe we're calling out sophomores, maybe we're calling out juniors, maybe we're calling out seniors. And it's essentially the exact same ad, but we're calling out different people in each of them, right? We want 3 ads and we want to spend evenly, like I think it would be like 17 a day is like 1,500 a month, right? So we want to spend $17 per day per ad, okay? And we're going to let these run. And after a week, we're going to have probably 2 or even 1 that outperforms, and we're going to run all the budget into that one. And now we're spending $54 a day on 1 ad. You don't need to complicate it. This is how to run the initial ads, okay? We've tried a bunch of different stuff. We've tried the things that I do at my levels of ad spend. We've tried a bunch of different stuff. This is what we found to be most effective, is we're just trying to test the different lines of messaging. We're running them on 1 ad, and then we just scale it from there, okay? So hopefully this video was valuable for you. If it totally went over your head, that's totally okay too. You can work with me and my team directly inside of our mentorship program, Remote Training University. We'll help you go from 0 online to over $10,000 a month, or even in our scale program where our average client does about $20,000 a month online. I had 4 clients hit over $50,000 a month in February. So we know what we're doing. If you want to just continue to learn for free on this YouTube channel, that's cool too. Either way, hopefully you guys got a ton of value out of this. Catch you in the next one. Peace.